Welcome to Back in Crime.
This holiday season, we're not unwrapping gifts, we're unwrapping crimes.
From the shadows of history to the cold files of the FBI, we're pulling back the ribbon on mysteries that haunted Christmas past.
I'm Todd Hiles, retired U.S. Secret Service agent.
And I'm Stewart Fillmore, retired FBI agent. Together, we're the Texas Crime Travelers.
In this special series, we'll take you under the crime scene tape of cases that shocked communities and baffled investigators during Christmas.
Stories of greed, betrayal, and desperation, wrapped in tinsel, but dripping with suspense.
So pour yourself some eggnog, lock the doors, and join us.
This is Crimemas, Volume 1.
Stewart, welcome to Episode 1 of Crimemas.
Todd, I am so excited about this. This is really cool.
And this is where we're going to unwrap crimes that occurred during the Christmas season. Now, today's case might not sound like it belongs under the Christmas tree, but
Okay.
it's just like that endless family debate. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not?
I'm aware of that debate, and I have to tell you, I think it is. In my opinion, I go with it that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
I agree with you. You know, sometimes the Christmas season sneaks into a place where we least expect it. Now, we know Die Hard hit the movie theaters in July of 1988. Not exactly holiday
Hold on,
timing.
I didn't know. Really? Okay, so that tells you, in my mind, over the years, that how it's evolved into a Christmas movie, because I would have bet money that was a Christmas release movie. You know, used to, in the day, big blockbuster movies were always released at Christmas time, you know, in the summer, and then there'd be another one at Christmas time. I would have bet my life that Die Hard was released at Christmas.
And I think a lot of people believe that because the whole story of Die Hard kind of unfolds on Christmas Eve, and I guess the whole film really takes place at a Christmas office party.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And don't forget, the soundtrack has the Let It Snow song.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, in just the way that Die Hard is not really a Christmas movie, this case, though, that we're going to talk about today, it's also filled with fright and panic, and it brushes right up against the holiday season.
Okay.
Because right before Christmas in 1985, a bomb exploded.
Oh, boy. Okay.
And that's why this case earns its place in Crimemas.
Okay.
So here we go. Let's unwrap the dark chapter of the Unabomber.
The Unabomber, yep.
Okay, our story today is going to begin not with carols or sleigh bells, but with a package. On May 25th, 1978, at the Northwestern University in Illinois, a brown paper parcel was left in a hallway.
Yep.
It appeared to be from a professor at Northwest University addressed to another faculty member. The victim of this case is going to be a campus police officer who was called in to investigate this package. And when the campus police officer opens it, the device exploded and it caused minor injuries to the police officer.
Yeah.
The bomb was built from scrap wood and metal, sort of in avoided store-bought things.
Yes.
So
and
there's
ultimately, that will be kind of a clue, kind of a pattern. Yeah.
Right. And there's no forensic trail
Yeah.
to anything at this time. Of course, the FBI gets involved, but at this time they have no idea that they're dealing with a serial bomber.
Yeah. You know, Todd, in the FBI, we had bomb technicians that were mainly used to go in after the bomb, but there were certain guys that actually, did work pre-bomb before the bomb was detonated.
Right.
I actually had a little bit of training in the post-bomb work, and the thing that I found amazing about it is how much, you can actually recover evidence-wise at a bomb scene that can, be the make or break of the case.
And this is probably a good time to ask you, as an FBI agent, did you ever work on this case?
Peripherally, yes. I think along the way I covered a couple of leads on the thing.
Okay.
But certainly nothing that ultimately led to his being arrested.
So again, this first bombing, this is just kind of an incident that's just treated. It's isolated. It's just treated by itself.
Yeah.
The FBI has no idea that this is going to become almost a 20-year nightmare for them trying to solve this. Our second bombing was on May 9th, 1979. Again, the same campus, Northwestern University. It's about a year after the first attack, and this time the device is hidden inside a cigar box left in a common area.
Yeah, so a little bit different setup this time.
Right. A graduate student discovers the box. He opens it. Of course, the bomb explodes, injuring his hand and face. He survives, but the attack confirmed that the bomber was escalating.
Yeah.
Compared to the 1978 device, this bomb was a lot more refined. The device had a more reliable trigger mechanism, but again, the FBI sees this as an isolated event. They don't even put the two attacks on the same university. They don't know at this time that they're dealing with the same bomber.
Well, and I think one of the things too is that typically bomb makers will kind of have almost a fingerprint that the way they design and build their explosive devices. That's one of the things that kind of tells you that, hey, this is from the same bomber, and that's not true in these early cases. So it kind of makes sense, although it happens at the same place.
So another one later that year, November 15th, 1979. It's American Airlines Flight 444. It's scheduled to fly from Chicago to Washington National Airport.
Yeah.
This flight is a Boeing 727 with 72 passengers and 6 airline crew on board. The device on this, or the bomb, it's contained in a small wooden crate, and it's made to appear as normal cargo being mailed through the U.S. postal system. Mm-hmm. The crate, of course, is loaded in the cargo area of the aircraft. The device is not set to explode on the runway. It's triggered by barometric trigger.
Yeah, by the pressure.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
As the aircraft climbed in altitude, the pressure dropped. The bomb was supposed to go off.
Yeah.
Of course, unfortunately for him, the bomb malfunctioned. It partially detonated on the flight, and it just really caused more of a sucking explosion and a rapid loss of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of a fire and explosion, smoke filled the cabin, forcing pilots to make an emergency landing at Dulles International Airport. 12 passengers required medical treatment after breathing in the thick smoke, but no one was killed. But, again, this happened right before Thanksgiving. It's the busiest time for air travel, and this bomb or device, it sort of exposed a blind spot in airline travel.
Yeah.
In that the cargo and, passengers' suitcases, they're not screened as passengers were.
Oh, yeah, it was a way different time in those days.
And if you remember, it was the early 1970s that they started screening passengers, and that was because of all the hijackings from the 60s and the early 70s.
Which brings us back to one of your favorite cases, the one that I, for whatever reason, can never remember the specific details of.
D.B. Cooper.
Is D.B. Cooper.
Yes. So a lot of people will say because of D.B. Cooper, we now have metal detectors at the airports. It was because of him. But again, this bombing of the airplane, the FBI does not immediately connect the two bombs at the university with this airline. Again, they're all investigated separately.
But this, I don't want to maybe jump on your outline, but isn't this at the point sometime after this third one is where the term Unabomb comes in, right?
Because, we're going to get to that. Okay. So I'll just say, spoiler alert, eventually the FBI will link Flight 444 to the university bombings.
Yeah.
And then here we go. On June 10th, 1980, we get the book bomb.
Yeah.
And this device was disguised inside a hollowed-out book titled Ice Brothers by Sloan Wilson.
As a kid, I always, you'd see these hollowed-out books, and I thought that was the coolest thing, because, man, I could have a hollowed-out book, and I could just keep whatever stuff I'm going to keep in there, and no one could find it. I actually tried it one time. It's a hell of a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as you think.
You just can't ruin the binding. Now, Ice Brothers, did you ever read that book?
No, I didn't. No.
I guess it's a book about the U.S. Coast Guard sailors in Greenland during World War II.
Oh, okay.
And this book...
That's something that would be up my alley. That would be of interest to me.
And this book was mailed directly to the home of the president of United Airlines.
Okay, yeah.
And when the airline president opened the book, The bomb exploded in his hand, and he suffered serious cuts and burns, but he survived.
So each time it's triggered by a little bit different mechanism, you know.
Right. And this one is kind of unique that just prior to actually receiving the book, the airline president had received a letter which said that he would soon receive a book of social significance. But it's this is the point now that the FBI gives it that case name Unabomb, which, for short meant university and airline bombings.
Right. Yeah.
And again, that then will give rise to that famous nickname, the Unabomber.
Unabomber. Yeah.
And I guess as an investigator, this attack was so pivotal because it showed the Unabomber's ability to reach out to powerful figures.
Yeah, and you never could quite know where it's coming from. It could be a bag, a book. I mean, that's kind of scary, actually. It makes you think. I remember before the Unabomber, was caught. I remember kind of getting in my head about, I'm not really going to touch anything in public.
Right.
It's because you never know where a bomb might be hidden.
And we go back to that book that it was inside that book. Hundreds of investigative hours were poured into analyzing the book, its author, and its theme.
Sure.
We know that a lot of FBI agents interviewed people connected to Sloan Wilson, again, who's the author of the book, and they just went over the novel's plot, and they considered whether the Unabomber had personal ties to the Coast Guard or ties to World War II.
Right.
So much investigative time was put into this. In fact, here's kind of a unique investigative twist to all this, is that the FBI never told the public the title of the book.
Yeah.
They only mentioned that it was a book bomb. They kept that title secret, locked in a case file, only known to a handful of agents.
Yeah, in some cases, there are details that you do not want to be public because it would be information that only the killer or the bomber knows about, right?
Right.
And then sometimes, it's really more of a judgment call. You make information public and let the public help you. And in this case, they just chose to keep that
quiet.
Yeah.
I'd almost call it like, I don't know if you ever use that term, but sometimes we got a good little nugget of something. We always called it investigative gold.
Yeah.
So, that way, like, we're duty agent and some guy shows up and says, I'm the Unabomber. I mailed that book. You could ask him, okay, what was the title of the book?
What's the book? Exactly.
And, if they don't know the title, then they're just bluffing.
That's right.
So it just, there was a little bit I saw in an FBI file that said that they were afraid that there would be copycats. If the title got out there, then people would be sending, some type of a bomb or sending something in that same book.
Exactly.
So, but eventually, again, after hundreds and hundreds of hours of investigators looking at this and looking at the book, they finally concluded that the book, there was no message to the book.
It was just a random thing.
It was just a random book.
Right. Maybe just book was chosen just because it was the right thickness.
Right. But I think it might have come out that year.
Yeah.
And it might have been a popular book at that time. But again, the FBI kept the title of that book from the public for years. I
can bet, and again, I don't know specifically on this, but I can bet that they would have gone to, the book publisher. And I don't know if each and every book, if there's a way to track each and every book. But certainly books are going to be published and go out in lots and groups and everything. And I promise you all that work was done to try to figure out where this book may have been purchased.
Right.
And that's a lot of work there, especially in those days. But, that's one of the things that if you don't, when you don't have leads, obvious leads, you got to make them. That's part of investigative work. And it's really, honestly, for me, I love that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's a puzzle to solve, brother, and I love that stuff.
Right. And again, you're hitting on something that's so important because I think it shows you the details and the effort that investigators treat every possible clue.
Yeah, sure. Because you just never know where it's going to be and, what could break this open.
And again, at this time, this case has been going on for several years.
Sure. And it also kind of highlights that despite very intense work and efforts, many times in investigations, you're going down a rabbit trail that leads you nowhere. That's just part of the job too.
But then sometimes at the end of that trail, you're going to get that
That's
investigative gold. So that's what we're looking for.
Yep.
So on October 8th, 1981, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City, a device is found outside a classroom before the class was about to begin. This device is disguised as a wooden box left near a doorway.
Yeah.
What made it suspicious was that a maintenance worker noticed the box, and it sort of looked out of place. It did not belong in a classroom environment, and he reported it. A bomb squad from a nearby Army installation, they were called. They came in, and they successfully defused the device.
Yeah.
You know, this maintenance worker's quick action prevented what could have been like serious injuries,
Sure. Yeah.
especially if the classroom would have filled up.
Right.
Now, this device was recovered before detonation. Therefore, this device is recovered in whole. Up until now, all the other devices had exploded.
Right.
And again, this is a gold mine for the FBI.
And again, I highlighted it earlier. That you have the post-bomb investigators and the pre-bomb investigators. This is where the pre-bomb guys come in, and I tell you what, that is work to be commended because it is very, very dangerous.
And this is, I would almost call this as a gift to the FBI because this bomb did not explode.
Yeah.
The FBI probably treated this like buried treasure because they combed through every wire, every nail, every scrap of wood. I'm sure they looked for fingerprints. Back then they would have done that. Try to see,
Yep.
where anything could have been purchased if it was just unique for a certain state, things like that. Investigators spent hours dissecting this bomb. They traced the materials back from like the wood, the batteries, and in there, it sort of gave them clues or an insight into the Unabomber.
Yeah. If you can, because again, it is amazing how many things can be recovered post-explosion. But, man, if you can get it pre-explosion, that's way better.
Right. In fact, this intact device became a training tool for bomb squads nationwide. It showed them how, to recognize this bomb.
Sure, yeah.
And if they had something that looked like this in their cities, how to safely dismantle it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. On May 5th, 1982, Vanderbilt University. A bomb was mailed to a professor who was the chair of the computer department. When his secretary opens the package, it explodes. The secretary suffers burns and shrapnel wounds. The Vanderbilt device is discussed by investigators because now the Unabomber, there's like a growing pattern to his bombs.
Yep.
This is a turning point where investigators begin to recognize the Unabomber's style, and they realize they're chasing this elusive figure.
Yeah. And clearly you have to, at this point, they had to have respect for the guy, that he's, at this point, this is something where you start building this psychological profile, and maybe as a way to try to narrow down, a group of suspects or potential, this is who we're looking for. And so we start looking into this type person. So all these kind of things are developing as this thing goes on. Unfortunately, you just have victims along the way, and
and it's kind of a game for him because he's mailing it to a professor, but he's using sometimes the address as the sender as a previous victim.
Yeah,
in the bombing and things like that.
It's a little cat and mouse game for him.
Now on July 2nd, 1982, at University of California in Berkeley. This is 2 months prior was the Vanderbilt University, and that, of course, that university, it came through the mail, but at Berkeley, it's waiting in a hallway. And it's a small metal pipe bomb that's placed in a public area of a building. An electrical engineering professor, he picks up the device, and he gets burns and cuts from the blast. But then this kind of gives a clue to investigators that this one was kind of unique, that it wasn't mailed. It was left, again, at the university, knowing now that the Unabomber is willing to walk on these campuses.
Exactly.
And
you know, this
drop
would be
these
a lot
off.
tougher for him to do today, where there's cameras everywhere. But in those days, you just didn't have that kind of surveillance capabilities.
And by leaving, a bomb in a hallway like this, the Unabomber, he's not targeting, he's not deliberately trying to strike at a certain professor or anything like that. He's just targeting
It can be
random
anybody.
people. It could be anybody.
Yes, that's the scary part of
Right.
it, and I guess the terrorism element. Because again, as I said, for me personally, being alive when all this stuff was going on, and I remember thinking, man, I'm not going to pick that up. If I see something that normally wouldn't even give a second thought about, I would think, oh, I'm not even going to touch that. There could be a bomb in that. So, that is kind of what terrorism is, right? To try to influence people,
Right.
and, create fear and panic.
And again, this is now the Unabomber sort of goes quiet for a few years, but now it's 1985, and the Unabomber is going to carry out 4 attacks this year. This is one of his most intense years of his bombing.
Yeah.
And so now we're back at University of Berkeley. This is May 15th, 1985. Again, a device is left in a computer science faculty area, and the bomb explodes when a graduate student picked it up. The student suffered severe injuries, including loss of a finger and partial vision.
Yeah.
On June 13th, 1985, a package arrived at Boeing Airlines. Again, it looks ordinary. When the secretary opens it up, boom, it explodes again.
Yeah.
Injures her hands and face. But now for investigators, we're confirming that the Unabomber has this focus on airlines and
Universities.
on universities.
Yep.
And again, this entire Unabomb case file is just growing in size.
Sure.
But, the FBI has a sort of a pattern in that it's airlines and universities. November 15th, 1985, University of Michigan. A professor opens what looks like routine mail, and in an instant, a package exploded, leaving him deaf, his assistant scared. Investigators are certain that the Unabomber now is starting to accelerate his terror. And here we go on December 11th, 1985, in Sacramento, California. A wooden box is wrapped in festive paper, and it's sitting in a parking lot of a computer store.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there. When the store owner bends over to lift the box up, it explodes, and the Unabomber claims his first life.
Yeah. Yeah. This was that's good Lord. Can you imagine that losing your life to this idiot that at this point no one really knows what his purpose is in this thing, but wow.
And just left this
Yeah.
like a Christmas package
Yeah,
in a parking
exactly.
lot.
Yeah.
And it just I guess the Unabomber's terror now has crossed this line into murder.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this really becomes a turning point for the investigators, because it's no longer just smoke and shrapnel.
Yeah.
It's about murder, and now the hunt for the Unabomber becomes a race against time.
Yeah.
Up until now, we've had 17 years of bombing, but this is the first death. And again, it happened 2 weeks before Christmas, and I think that adds a chilling layer to this crime.
Todd, do we know if perhaps that the Sacramento bomb that caused the death, did it have more explosive material? Was it the bomb constructed differently to be more lethal, or was it maybe a situation just where just maybe the shrapnel or something just happened to catch the guy?
The way he was bent over it, like
exactly, yeah. I remember going through the FBI Academy years and years ago, and we did have a little training section on bombs and if you had to investigate the things to look for and everything. But I remember being struck by there was one case that they highlighted where the bomber had been making, a device of some kind, and was seated in a chair and had the thing like in his lap, and I guess was doing whatever he was doing to it, and the thing goes off, and he was bent over it, and it literally took his head off. And I don't remember exactly, how potent the bomb would have been, but the thing that I remember from that instruction was that the bomb will take the path of least resistance.
Right.
So if the blast initially went to the floor was more, gave more resistance than coming back up, and it just took his head off.
Right.
And yeah, it was a pretty graphic photo from that.
Right.
Too bad something like that didn't happen to the Unabomber along the
Right,
way.
when he was building it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you're right. This could be because it was on the ground. He's bent over it.
Yeah.
When the bomb
exactly.
goes off.
Probably because we're going to see a continuing pattern where there's more. I don't want to downplay it and say superficial injuries, but non fatal injuries, right?
Right.
That it's more like he's not trying to necessarily kill anybody, but he's just trying to send whatever his effed up message is, to wake people up to whatever it is he wants. But
right.
So yeah, I that's interesting. I may go back and look at that one a little closer, just out of my own interest.
But for me,
Please ask our listeners to do the same, please.
But I think the most haunting detail of this, of all the bombings up to this point of the Unabomber, was that this device again was disguised as a Christmas present.
Yeah.
And like when families are preparing for the holidays, this bombing, it told investigators that the Unabomber can strike anywhere, anytime.
Anytime, yep.
On February 20th, 1987, Salt Lake City, Utah, the bomb is placed behind a computer store in Salt Lake City. When a man tried to move what looked like a piece of scrap wood, the device exploded. He was seriously injured, suffering severe nerve damage and shrapnel wounds.
Yeah.
This device was camouflaged as kind of like lumber, like a 4x4 block of wood with nails sticking out.
Yeah, so you get nails and you get wood coming out from that.
It really kind of, I guess, blends into the parking lot environment.
Sure.
Again, for an investigator, this just shows the Unabomber's creativity in hiding his devices.
Exactly. Absolutely.
But the big break in this bombing was that witnesses saw the Unabomber for the first time.
And that's where we get this famous composite.
Yes. People remember seeing a man near there, and I guess they described to him as wearing a hooded sweatshirt and aviator sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, that sketch of the Unabomber, that drawing is like circulated nationwide for years.
Yep.
I think if we showed people that picture right now, everybody'd say, "Oh, it's the Unabomber."
Sure. Yeah. Or if you see some guy wearing a hoodie and sunglasses now, you refer to him as the Unabomber.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, again, after this attack in 1987, the Unabomber pretty much goes silent for a while. There were several FBI agents that kind of believed that either the Unabomber had died,
Yeah.
or he's in jail.
In prison, yeah.
He's in prison.
Yeah.
Because it just goes dormant. There's nothing. Then 6 years later, on June 22nd, 1983, University of California, San Francisco, again, another bomb is mailed to a professor at the university, and he actually takes the package home. When he opens the package at his house, it explodes, and it causes, severe injuries to his hand, face, and abdomen.
Yeah. Was that package addressed specifically to him?
Yes, at the university.
At Berkeley, and then...
It wasn't at Berkeley, it was at the University of California, San Francisco.
Oh, okay. But then he takes it home.
He takes it home and opens it. Two days later, June 24th, 1993, at Yale, up in Connecticut, a bomb is mailed to a professor there. When he opens the package in his office, it explodes, leaving him severely injured.
Yeah.
These two, I guess, 1993 attacks again really reignite the public fear and the FBI's urgency in finding the Unabomber.
Sure.
Because, we had years of quiet where the Unabomber wasn't doing anything, but these two in 1993, these are very sophisticated bombs.
Exactly. So, one of the things that you would look at in this, again, you sometimes you have to just make your own leads. But one of the things that you're going to, 1987, this gap between 1987 and 1993, you would look for people that might have been in prison in those years and someone that maybe, when they were paroled prior to this in 1993, but they had been in prison since 1987, that fills that gap,
Right. And it's around this time I was a police officer, and I can remember being assigned to an FBI task force. And I remember, having a discussion with an agent, and he was talking about the Unabomber and just saying, like, how scary this was.
Yeah.
Because this guy could leave a bomb anywhere.
Anywhere.
He could mail a bomb
disguise
anywhere.
the thing to look like, to fit into the circumstance, the surroundings. And, yeah, it's scary.
And it made you think at that time, like, do you even want to go get your own mail? Like,
Yes.
why am I getting a package?
That's what I mean.
Do I
So
want to open
the
it?
terrorism is real to this.
And I can remember just, again, this would have been in the early 1990s, and just talking to that agent of just they had no clue who this guy was.
Yeah, exactly.
They have
if
no
you
idea.
think about it too, it's such a cowardly thing. It really is. I mean, if you have a problem with somebody, face them and take it up directly. Don't do this passive aggressive crap. With the bombs.
Right. The next one is going to be December 10th, 1994, and it's up in New Jersey. The bomb is mailed to a senior executive at one of the world's largest public relations firms. Mm-hmm. And when this executive opens the package at his home, it explodes, killing him instantly.
Yeah.
Like many of these devices, they're mailed through the U.S. Postal Service. And again, the device is always disguised as just an ordinary package.
Yeah.
But yet it's carefully constructed to detonate upon opening. And like you talked about, once that bomb goes off, we lose a lot of forensic evidence.
You do, yeah.
Is lost
no
in
question.
that. On April 24th, 1995, Sacramento, California, this time the bomb is mailed to the president of the California Forestry Association. When he opens the package, it explodes, killing him instantly.
Yeah.
So now I think we've had maybe 16 bombs and 3 people are killed. Each device was handmade from scraps, designed to leave no forensic trail on a lot of this stuff. In June of 1995, the Unabomber mails letters to the New York Times and the Washington Post, and he demands publication, and he says he's going to continue his violence if his conditions aren't met. And what he wants is something to be published in the newspapers.
Yeah.
Of course, those newspapers, they reach out to the Department of Justice and the FBI. At that time, the FBI director was Louis Freeh, and the Attorney General was
Janet Reno.
Yes, and so they approve that these newspapers can publish.
Yeah,
but it takes a while. I mean, they I think in June again he writes the letter to the newspapers, and it's not until September of that year. So 2 months or so.
Sure.
That they debate: do we want to do this? Do we want not to do this? I think the FBI really believes that by publishing this, it's going to generate leads. So the Unabomber's manifesto, titled Industrial Society and Its Future, is published on September 19th, 1995. Mm-hmm. It's about a 35,000-word essay.
Yeah.
The Unabomber's brother and sister-in-law recognized the writing style of the manifesto. And in January of 1996, they reach out to the FBI.
Yeah, and this is really the break that really, ends in them catching the guy.
Right. Because on April 3rd, 1996, agents surround a 10 by 14-foot cabin in Lincoln, Montana. And inside, they find the man who has haunted America for nearly 20 years.
Yeah, just living as almost like a feral human, almost.
Right.
Yeah.
Inside the cabin, investigators also will find bomb-making materials, journals, and drafts of the manifesto. He's charged with multiple counts of transporting, mailing, and using bombs between 1978 and 1995. Initially, the federal prosecutors sought the death penalty, but in January of 1998, he accepts a plea deal, and he pleads guilty to all charges in exchange for life in prison without parole.
Yeah.
He's housed at the federal Supermax prison in Colorado. He lives in near total isolation, but he does correspond with supporters and a lot of professors.
Yeah. Supporters. Boy.
Yeah. It's
Can you
it's
imagine?
crazy.
I'm a supporter of the Unabomber.
Right.
Good Lord.
In 2021, he's transferred to a federal medical center in North Carolina because he has cancer. And in June 10th, 2023, he dies by suicide at the age of 81.
Yeah.
But again, we talk about this, again, keeping it for Crimemas, is that, I go back to that one in December, that the first killing. Again, families are putting up Christmas tree lights at their house.
Oh, I know.
And he's in his house building this device to kill somebody.
Yeah. For some twisted ideology that only really made sense to him, that something, that the industrialization of the world somehow was our downfall, I guess,
Right.
is ultimately what he thinks, and that everyone should live in a cabin in the woods like him. Okay, well, if that's what you choose to do, then great. But you don't need to kill people to try to influence them. That's what they need to do as well.
Right.
That's probably, because I know he was a very smart guy. He was a math genius, and but he wasn't that smart. It's one of those cases, I guess, where maybe genius turns into crazy. But I have zero sympathy for this guy. I don't find 1 ounce of anything about him sympathetic.
I guess it just shows to us and to our listeners that even the holidays are not safe from terror, that evil does not take a holiday.
That's well said, yes.
Well,
And it's an unfortunate thing. It is.
Join us on our next episode of Crimemas when we travel to Houston, Texas, for a crime involving an American legend which happened on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, Crimemas. I love it. I love it.
As always, thank you so much for listening, and as a listener, hit that subscribe or follow button.
Yeah, and keep your questions and comments coming. We love hearing from you. We love doing this stuff, so we really want to hear from you.
And if you enjoyed hearing this case, share it with your friends.
This has been the Back in Crime podcast presented by Texas Crime Travelers Todd Hiles and Stewart Fillmore. We are the executive producers. Grace Hiles is the producer and director. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube channel at Texas Crime Travelers.